So you want to know how to claim foreclosure overage. Well, you came to the right place. This is attorney Bob Diamond, and I'm in a really good mood today sitting here on the beach, so I'm going to teach you how to claim foreclosure overage. So let's get right into it. And by the way, be sure to stay on to the very end because I'm going to show you that there's actually a second type of overages that you need to consider if you're getting into this overage business, because those claims are actually a little bit easier to make. So let's get right into it. So foreclosure overage is when some property that sells at a foreclosure auction sells for more than the money that is owed. Just really simple example. If you had a property where you owed $200,000 in the mortgage and the property sells for $300,000 at a foreclosure auction, then the extra $100,000, meaning the $100,000 more it's sold for, is available for the former owner to claim. And by claim it, meaning they get that money. So there's a business to be had where you help people get back that money that they otherwise don't know how to get, because there are a lot of people who have no idea how to get that money. This can be a great and lucrative business because the people who lose their property to foreclosure sale, they typically don't know that there even could be any money left over. They think that, well, they sold my house, so they keep the money. And I can tell you as an attorney, that's not correct, legally speaking. What is correct is that, yes, they, meaning your mortgage company or your trustee in a deed of trust, forced the property to be sold at a foreclosure auction because you didn't pay the mortgage. But what the mortgage company is entitled to is just to get paid the amount that it's owed plus the cost of the auction. Any money over and above that belongs to and is claimable by the former owner. But here's the catch. They have to actually claim the money, meaning they have to put in what's something called a petition in court, and they have to then assert that they want that money, and then they will get the money. But not if they don't put a claim in. And most people don't ever put claims in. Why is that? It's because they have no idea there's any money that they could claim. They don't have money to go talk to an attorney because they're broke. I mean, they lost their property at a foreclosure auction. It's not like money is free and easy. So they're not spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars to consult with an attorney to see if there's anything they could do. They figure they sold my house, so they keep the money. So how are these claims actually made? Well, the money is going to be in court when it's a foreclosure overage. The money gets deposited into your local county court, and it's there to be claimed if and when someone decides to claim it. And they have to file a specific document called a petition or a motion. Generally, most places can be called petition, but you may hear it sometimes called motion. And it'd be a petition to release unclaimed funds or a motion to release unclaimed funds. And essentially, it's a piece of paper that tells the story. I'm Sam Smith. My property was sold at foreclosure auction on January 1st, and there was $100,000 owed. The property sold for $200,000, and as the former owner, I'm entitled to the money, and I'd like a check. And that's really all that's in there. It's very simple, typically just a page and a half of legal storytelling. And the former owner is entitled to claim that money. Now, there are other parties that can claim it also. Like if you have a second mortgage or a lien or judgment, they can also file claims for the money. Generally, nobody ever claims the money. Generally speaking, the mortgage company covers its costs and covers its debt, and the money just sits there in the county courthouse until some amount of time goes by. And if enough time goes by, it's generally just going to forfeit to either the local government or the state government. And that's pretty much the way it works. And that's the way it works across the country all the time. So there's this really big opportunity for us as entrepreneurs to identify those funds that are sitting there, to reach out to the folks that owe the money, let them know that we've located money that we can help them get, and seeing if they want our help for a percentage if and when we're successful. It reminds me, as an attorney, it's very similar to contingent fee work for like a personal injury case or something like that, except generally speaking, you don't need to be an attorney to do this. You'll need to hire attorneys to go into court and get the money, but that's not terribly complicated or expensive. Usually hiring an attorney costs $2,500 or so by the time it's all said and done. And usually we're pursuing six-figure claims. These claims are very commonly $100,000 or more. And that's because someone probably bought their property 10 or 15 years ago when properties weren't even half of what they are today. Even if they got 100% financing back then, property that was, say, average house in America back then, under $200,000. Average house in America today is over $400,000. So even if they got full, $200,000 loan back then, today when the property sells at foreclosure auction, is probably selling for about 80% of what it's worth, So on a $400,000 house, you're probably talking about a $320,000 sale price. So if you owe $200,000 and it sells for $320,000, well, there's $120,000 left over that is claimable by the former owner. But the catch is that former owner has to physically put in a claim, meaning a piece of paper with the court, and they have to pursue it. And generally, these folks don't even know there could be any money. They think, well, they sold my house, so they keep the money. So they don't have any idea there could be anything. And so they don't claim the money. This creates the opportunity for you as an entrepreneur. If you know about the money, you reach out to folks and say, hey, I've got good news. There's some money that you're eligible to claim. If you'd like to work with us for a percentage, we're happy to go work to get that money. If we're successful, we'll get paid. If we're not successful, it doesn't cost you anything. So it's really a completely no-risk offer. It's like your Santa Claus calling and saying, would you like me to come over with the check? And so lots of people will agree to that and sign up, and because they don't know where the money is, they have no idea. You're not telling them where the money is. You're just telling them you found money that they're eligible to claim, and then you do that as a service. I love this business. It's my favorite business I've ever owned because I'm helping people who lost everything get back some money, get a fresh start in life, get some dignity, and really just get their due. Do we charge for it? Sure. Just like a doctor charges, for when you get hurt, they charge and they charge for treatment, or if you're sick, just like anybody charges for work that they do. Your mechanic that fixes your car charges. We all do, because that's how the world goes around. So yes, we charge. Now we do adjust. Sometimes we charge more, sometimes less, depending on the complexity of the case. And one of the things I teach my students is how to figure out which cases are complex and which ones are simple, and maybe avoid the complex ones at the front of your business, meaning the beginning, and if you do them, to charge more for them just to account for that. Also teaching you how to identify the good claims versus the bad ones, which states to operate in, because all these things operate under state laws, and you have to know the state laws. Like one of the basic state laws is how long do you have to make the claim? Because after a certain amount of time, in most states, this money becomes unclaimable and just forfeits to the state. So you can't get it anymore. So we need to know those things. But for you, the claiming process is either a motion or a petition, generally going to be called a petition. It's filed by a local attorney. Your budget for it is about $2,500. And, for us, when I put that into context, so we will charge a third to 40%, depending on whether it's a complex or a simple claim. Let's just take a really simple example. We charge a third. And let's say a claim is a $100,000 claim, which, again, very typical for us to do claims. Our average claim size right now is $92,000. So let's work from that. Let's say we're charging a third of $92,000. So approximately that's $30,000 in fees that we charge for that. If it costs me $2,500 and I'm getting paid $30,000, that is a good deal. And those are the kind of numbers we do in this business. And if you think about that, how many of those deals would you need to do in a year to meet the lifestyle and financial goals that you have for yourself? And I can't answer that for you. You'd have to answer that for yourself. But, it's approximately 3 claims per $100,000. So that's some pretty good money. And you can do really, really well with this business. And I like it because you're helping people and you're making good money. And it is one of the simpler and lower cost businesses. You don't need to rent real estate or rent an office. All that you really need is an internet connection, an iPad or a computer to do some computerized research, and some gumption to get out there and make some calls. And obviously you need knowledge. So I love this business. I've been in it since 2014. I think it's wonderful. It's profitable. It's meaningful. And it's really just a really great business. And I love the fact that it's very low risk. If a claim doesn't work out, you're talking about a $2,500 exposure potentially for an attorney. And that's not a whole lot. If you're investing $2,500 to make $30,000, you could have 10 claims fail and the 11th one go through and you still make a little bit of money. And the ratios are much better than that, but just to make it ridiculous, that's how low risk it is. So really great business. And there's actually a second business that if you're getting into this, you might consider doing this one as the one to start with, and that's the tax overages business. Tax overages come about when properties are sold at tax foreclosure sale because someone didn't pay their real estate taxes. We're not talking IRS taxes here. We're just talking real estate taxes. So if someone doesn't pay their annual real estate taxes, after 3 or 4 years, they'll sell your property and get as much money as they can for it. Now, in most states, those are non-judicial claims called administrative claims. There, you're just filling in a piece of paper, you're turning it into a government agency, and they're cutting you a check. There's no court involved, no attorneys needed. And that could be a really good way to start in the business. Now, we do both. We do mortgage overages and tax overages, but I think you should check out, especially if you're at the beginning just exploring this, check out the tax overages. It's actually a little easier to get the leads. Leads tend to be a little bit smaller in value, but still very worthwhile. You know, leads that are $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 are very common. Six-figure leads, there are plenty of those too. But they can be good because your cost of processing a lead is much less. So I really tend to like those. So if you want to check that out, I did an intro to the Overages Business video where I talk really about the tax overages, and this might be just the thing you're looking for. So if you look down below, you'll see a link to that video. It's like 15 or 20 minutes. It's right here on YouTube. It's completely free. And I give you a primer on that tax overages business, which I think you should check out, especially if you're asking the question of how do I do a mortgage overage. I think you should definitely look at the tax overages too. So click on that link and I will see you over there, and we'll spend 15 or 20 minutes together and I can get you a primer in that business. And if you like to move forward with it, I do teach people how to do both businesses, mortgage and tax overage, and you can consider coming to one of our classes or getting one of our courses. So this is attorney Bob Diamond. Thanks for being here today. Go check out the intro to the Overages Business video and I will see you over there. Thanks and bye for now.